This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com, ODOO.com.
When it comes to playtime, never let your squad down. Unlock elite gaming tech at Lenovo.com. Push your gameplay beyond performance with 13th Gen Intel Core processors. Upgrade to smooth, high-quality streaming with Intel Wi-Fi 6E. And maximize game performance with enhanced overclocking. Win the tech search and head to Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on what your kids are spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/iHeart.
Start the baseball season with our Major League season opening watch party at Treasure Island today. Slide into parlay at 2:30 to catch all the action on the big screens as Minnesota takes on St. Louis. Cheer on the team with Marnie Gellner and Twins legend Tim Laudner. Enjoy drink specials, free food and prize giveaways. Full details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man Program. The legendary Mark Rosen will join us just before 2 o'clock. Have a number of pressing issues I want to engage him in. We'll do that, as I say, just before 2, but right now it's time for 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
Good news in the state of hockey that broke either late yesterday or early today, I can't remember, but Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson are skating again. They're skating at Treya Rink over in St. Paul, the two forwards that the Wild desperately need back. But the lead in the playoff cushion is shrinking day by day every time the Wild lose. The Wild have 85 points. Vancouver Canucks, who are the last team out, is 80 points. That cushion is shrinking every day. Is it too little, too late, Common, for...
I don't know. If he's skating, people that pay closer attention to the league than I do, and I know it would vary from player to player depending upon if it's a lower or upper body injury and the severity of that injury. But if he's skating, I would think that means his entry back into the lineup would be imminent, would it not? I mean, how long does if he's skating, that would mean, all right, hey, he's up and or could this still be days or a week or two?
They're trying to really pump the brakes on it, of like, it's a good first step is the talking point that they're going with. It's a great first step, but they've got a ways to go to get back into fitness and all that.
I guess, to be honest, I think I've made it perfectly clear, and people that listen to the program realize I'm not paying as close attention to the National Hockey League in general, and specifically the Minnesota Wild, as I once did. I'll go back to what I've said all along. We weren't expecting much this season because of the Parise-Suter situation. They got off to a great start. Kaprizov, who I'm told by the people I trust, which would be tend to be, You laugh at Tennessee. That I trust that Kaprizov generally gets off to a slow start.
Kaprizov.
But this season, he got off to a fast start, and he was in the conversation. It was very early, but he was in the conversation as the Hart Trophy, the Player of the Year.
Yep,
Player of the Year. Then he gets hurt, and the Wild were off to a great start. They had one of the best records in hockey. They kept winning on the road and couldn't win at home, but who cares? You win your games, right? And then the injuries to Kaprizov and Ek and Brodin and others. And now they've been basically treading water at best, right?
Yeah.
And even if Kaprizov and Ek come back in time for postseason play and we're in, you tell me. It doesn't. There's nobody that I've heard say this team has the potential to make a deep run. You always can. They chip in a chair and a chance, but. I guess I'm just waiting until next year when almost that entire Parisi Suter nonsense is past us. We've got way more money to spend. Seems like we got a nice nucleus of players, right? If Kaprizov and how much longer is Kaprizov signed for? Is it next year too?
So it's next year too.
Okay.
And then that's that.
And that's that.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's July 1 is the magical day where they can start talking to Kaprizov about extensions. And they've pretty much said everything of, we're going to give you a blank check. No one will pay you more money than we will to keep you here. I think Leopold said that verbatim, that no one will outpay the Wild for Kaprizov. But if Kaprizov doesn't think we can win,
right,
then it's not going to matter.
Right, so. Because he would still get a boatload of money either way, right? Or a Zamboni load of money,
yeah.
Right? Either way.
I always love that one.
Again, I ask you because you're a hockey guy. Has there been any tells by Kaprizov at all in his, or he just keeps quiet about? My guess is he doesn't say anything, does he?
Yeah, he doesn't.
About like, well,
not much.
Boy, they better start winning here pretty quick. He hasn't thrown any of those threats around as far as I've not heard it, but maybe he has. I wouldn't say if Kaprizov leaves, you board up the fuse box, but pretty close, right? I mean, you still have quality players, and one player does not a team make. But if you have a guy that's considered one of the best players in the National Hockey League, he's on your club, and you've been building around him, and all of a sudden he's gone, I think Wild fans and season ticket holders would be, and it might not even be in control of the team, too. As you say, Leopold will say, I'll pay you more than anybody can. But if he doesn't believe they've done enough, I guess
that is in control of the team, though.
I guess it is, yeah.
Because they've had 5 years to convince him that this is a winning organization to make moves over the course of 5 years.
Yeah.
And even if you want to go to the salary cap, one hand tied behind their back thing, well, they elected to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something that got forced. Well, it did because Leopold and, back in the day signed them to those huge deals. But Billy G made the decision to buy them out and have this huge. So he thought he could convince Kaprizov with the salary cap, limitations to stay. And if he doesn't, I would be very critical of that. I would just leave it at that.
Question number 2.
Do you think he's going to stay or not? What's your gut tell you?
God, I hope so. I don't know. Okay. My gut is torn on that one. The Texas Children's Houston Open is happening right now. There's some decent names in it. Rory is playing after winning the Players a couple weeks ago. He's even par through his first round. Wyndham Clark is playing. He's 1 under through his first round. But our guy, Frankie Sappin, he's 1 over, but I'm just looking over some of his shots. He's hitting a lot more fairways today. Objects in the mirror could be closer than they appear.
How deep into his round is he?
He's through 13.
Through 13. That was very good. For those that don't know, we brought up Frankie Sappin on a number of occasions. He's originally from Minnesota. A master professional, Craig Warren, my co-host on Tee to Green, has been Frankie's swing coach since Frankie was 3 or 4 years old. And Craig visits him regularly, and Frankie goes to see him. Craig is he deserves a lot of credit for what he's, you give the player the most credit, obviously, but Craig's done a terrific job with Frankie, as he's done with you. Craig Warren's your swing coach as well.
Yes. We're still a work in progress over here.
Where do you think, when Craig looks at, the best players he's worked with, where, I would say Frankie's near the top, if not at the top. I don't know where I would put you. I would say top 10. got a tip for you.
Yeah?
I can cut 5 shots off your next round.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we just skipped the first par. 3 you come. I'm pulling for Frankie. It would be nice to see him make a cut. It's been about 3 tournaments since he has.
Yeah, he needs to make a cut, for sure.
Question number 3.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home run, shout a hit, hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
Yes, opening day is today for your Minnesota Twins. They take on the Cardinals in St. Louis. Couple questions. This is kind of a 2-for-1. A, your excitement level for this Twins season with all the ownership struggles going on and not a lot of moves in free agency that really moved the meter. And the second question is this.
Programming predicament.
Oh, no.
Because right at first pitch, there's another episode of Rockford Files on. So what do you think between Twins opening day and the Rockford Files?
Do you have the Rockford Files music ready?
I will in like a second.
Because 10 and B always has it ready to go.
I really should have that by this point.
Yeah, if you were going to ask the Rockford Files question, you probably should have had it. I don't know about it. It's such a good theme song, maybe my favorite of all time, next to Gilligan's Island. I don't know if there's an excitement level. There's an interest level.
Well,
I'm to the point where I don't expect the Twins to increase the payroll by leaps and bounds, even at all. I mean, I would be surprised if I guess they did come up from that 130, right? Are they at like 140, I think? They had a couple of acquisitions they made. The France character and the Bader were those guys that pushed the payroll up a little bit more. I don't recall which players they did, but yeah, so it pushed up. So yeah, I mean, it's you always go into a Twin season knowing that they're kind of behind the 8 ball anyways, because they're not going to spend any money, any significant money to try to improve the club at all. I mean, they did go out and they gave Correa the big contract. They've done it occasionally. I've talked about this last year until the collapse. They looked like they were going to represent the AL Central in the postseason play, and they do have some quality. It's not like they're not a terrible team in a terrible city with terrible fans in a terrible stadium. They're not. They're a quality club. But as we saw in those odds that I think might have been some interest to you, it's still the American League Central is still sort of in that, middle third of teams in baseball, the Guardians, the Twins, the Tigers and the Royals, and I think most baseball people expect those 4 teams to battle it out. So because it's a competitive division, because they do have some quality players, I'm interested, but I wouldn't. So how did you phrase the question before? Excited? No, I'm not excited. Now, excitement can build if the team, let's say they stay healthy. Or even if they don't stay healthy, if they just win games, find ways to win a lot of games, and they're in first place, and they're beating they're beating some of the other quality teams in the league, excitement level could start to build a little bit. I guess I'm cautious. I'm approaching this season very cautiously. I don't know what to expect, but I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be competitive. And I think the Central will go, unless they get ravaged by injuries, they should be in the mix come, September. It should be fun. Yeah, I still think I'll go with Rockford.
Hang on.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Short break. More controversial Vikings news. Other side of the break here on The Fan.
Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/iHeart. Greenlight.com/iHeart.
Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
When it comes to playtime, never let your squad down. Unlock elite gaming tech at Lenovo.com. Push your gameplay beyond performance with 13th Gen Intel Core processors. Upgrade to smooth, high-quality streaming with Intel Wi-Fi 6E. And maximize game performance with enhanced overclocking. Win the tech search and head to Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
Join Meat Sauce,
Lucky,
and Miller Lite at the Lookout in Maple Grove tonight from 5 to 7. Stop by to register for a chance to win a spot in the Vikings Foundation Golf Tournament. Full details now, KFAN.com. Keyword golf.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. I'm Comedy's Brett Blakemore. The legendary Mark Rosen will join us just before 2 o'clock here on The Fan. Number of ways to get a hold of us, 1-800-320-5326. We do not answer the phone very often, so I'd probably just bypass that option. There's booth@kfan.com. Email, I haven't checked it in about 2 years. Talkbacks, I forgot to do them yesterday. I'd asked all these people to send us talkbacks, and they never did. Or they probably did, but I didn't get to them. I apologize for that. No! And the talkback's simple, though. You have the iHeartRadio app. Search stations, find The Fan, and then you'll see a microphone icon in the corner of the screen. Tap it. You have 30 seconds or less to deliver us a audio message. And then there's the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. This one came in. Says PA's getting ripped so bad on social media. The way he talked down to Alec Lewis about his unimpeachable sources on the Aaron Rodgers situation. And then yesterday, it became clear that Alec Lewis was right. PA Alec Lewis conversation at all. Did you hear it?
I did not, no.
Is PA getting ripped on? And on social is such a broad, because you have Twitter and you have the competitors for Twitter that I don't know if they're making much inroads. Is it called Blue Sky and Threads? And then you have TikTok and Insta and all the others. So were you able to see anything on any social if PA was getting ripped?
Well, I'll just say this, that PA tweeted out himself. He said, "Notice I'm catching many Rube-related stray with all the QB-related stuff from the last couple weeks. 2 weeks ago today, I said on The Fan, Aaron Rodgers will not be the quarterback here and J.J. McCarthy will. Fire all you want, but the early bird got the worm, and it was good."
Ooh. Apple a day keeps the doctor away is how I would respond to that. Or an apple a day keeps A-Rod away.
He also did go on, just in fairness, he did go on to say, with Alec, our relationship is so good. We hung out for 4 or 5 minutes, laughed and chilled as friends are.
Oh, so it sounds like maybe he had to acknowledge it. It must have got a little testy, huh?
They're good buddies. I don't. Yeah. So
I know they are, but still, it sounds like it got testy. Well, again, far be it for me to speculate, but that's what I'd like to do, and I like to, me, I love stirring things up. I don't think PA would want Aaron Rodgers here because I think he spent. How long was Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers? 12 years, 15 years,
2005 to 21.
So that's how many? 15, 16 years,
17, something like that.
17 years, and for those 17 years, my guess is he despised Aaron Rodgers. Right, because he's the Packers and we're the Vikings. He's Barney the Purple Dinosaur. People have told me he always just called Rodgers a big box score. So if you talk about a guy as just being a big box scorer and you think he's overrated or whatever, then all of a sudden there's rumors he might come to your team. Well, then you're kind of stuck, aren't you? Are you all of a sudden going to say, I always thought he was just a big box scorer for all those years, but now that he's going to be a Viking, I really think he's great. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and won an MVP 4 times. So you kind of get in a position, and it probably would be awkward for PA if Rodgers came to the club and became the starting quarterback. Because how does he talk around that? Other than, I guess, you just say, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, and then you go from there.
A lot of Vikings fans have to do that, though.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right, because there has been, I wouldn't say just a dislike, but an outright hatred toward Aaron Rodgers, and his personality doesn't help. He likes to get people going as well. I think that's what Aaron Rodgers likes. That's why I almost feel a little kinship to Aaron Rodgers, because we like getting people going.
When he broke his collarbone, when Anthony Barr hit him, didn't the Star Trib rate that as like a top 5 moment in Minnesota sports history?
Did they? They may have.
So.
I don't remember that. So
maybe the decade, regardless.
So I understand where you're kind of put in a situation where if you're downplaying somebody and you don't particularly care for that person as a player, whatever, and then all of a sudden he's going to be on your team, right? It's hard to, it's so I guess in that case you really wouldn't want him here, because I mean, if you're going to be the Vikings play-by-play guy and you're going to text and talk with those people more than most people know, it's pretty hard for you to you can't even if you're texting and talking with KOC more than most people know. I don't think you're going to text him and say, I really think bringing Rodgers here is a mistake. You're going to have to go along with it, and none of us have any choice if that's what the Vikings decide to do. I made it perfectly clear. I don't particularly care for his personality either, just like I don't think you particularly care for mine. And a lot of other people are in that boat as well. Right? But the attention it would bring, the excitement it would bring, I mean, every day would be another it would be like a soap opera to a certain extent. It would be like, like hours through the sand.
You could do
like hours like sand in an hourglass. So are the days of our lives, right? Isn't that how they started that soap opera?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it would be like. And I'll just say it one more time. Well, not just one more time. I'll say it frequently. And this is why I think the Vikings. This is why there were conversations inside the new Winter Park or TCO. It's obvious that was confirmed yesterday by Kwesi.
They wouldn't even rule it out.
And that is because the way they look at it, different than Viking fans. Viking players, Viking management, Viking coaches, they don't hate Aaron Rodgers. They don't hate him. Matter of fact, KOC, it's and I didn't realize this until recently, KOC and A-Rod are tight. They both belong to the same chapter of the Mutual Admiration Society. They both think that they both like the other guy. And if you're running a team, even if you think you have the guy that is your franchise quarterback, if you look at the makeup of your club and go, God, we were 14-3 last year. We've added older guys, I guess, and guys that were injured, but still, you've added quality players on both sides of the ball. You think you've improved your team. And then you say, but then we got to keep our fingers crossed that the kid's really good early, or do we get a guy, if we have the opportunity, that has a proven track record? That's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You would be doing the team and the franchise, and I think the fans, a disservice if you did not explore the possibility. Same thing with, I don't think they explored the possibility of Russ Wilson, but I don't know why they wouldn't.
Might have talked about it.
If you feel that you are in a win now mode, the Vikings have said it since Kwesi walked in the door. Competitive rebuild. They think they can rebuild and be competitive. They've proved they can. 14-3, 7-9, 14-3. Their team, most everybody from last year, a couple of key pieces, including Sam Darnold, are not, but most everybody else is coming back. You've added players. Just on paper, you would say this team is going to contend for the NFC North Championship, and they could be a team that could make a run in the playoffs. Then the people that make those decisions at Winter Park have to decide whether they think who gives us the better chance. A young kid who doesn't have the experience, stuff that we think very highly of, or the 4-time MVP. And so that's why I do believe they're just kind of, I think Rodgers is going to be the quarterback of this team. I don't know what it is. I don't have spider sense. I have gadfly sense. My gadfly sense is tingling. I think he's going to sign with the club. We'll take a break. I've got other topics I need to address before we bring Mark Rosen into the conversation, including NFL Competition Committee's been very busy discussing several rules changes they'd like to consider. I'd like to see what Brett Blakemore thinks about them and the listeners as well. We'll do that next. Common Man Program on the Fan.
Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
When it comes to playtime, never let your squad down. Unlock elite gaming tech at Lenovo.com. Push your gameplay beyond performance with 13th Gen Intel Core processors. Upgrade to smooth, high-quality streaming with Intel Wi-Fi 6E. And maximize game performance with enhanced overclocking. Win the tech search and head to Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
Join the Power Trip Zach Halverson next Monday at Wild Bill's in Woodbury for the final regular season game, Bud Light Wild Watch Party. Be there at 6 p.m. Watch your Wild in action and sign up for your chance to qualify for first round playoff tickets this year. Full details now, KFAN.com keyword calendar, KFAN.com keyword calendar.
Sometimes I don't even know where to start other than with this. So here's what someone just the plot thickens on the PA and Alec Lewis brouhaha. Here's what I'm being told. PA disagreed with Lewis that the Vikings had talked to Rodgers. Lewis said he had inside sources who said they had talked to Rodgers. PA said his sources are better and the Vikings have never spoken with Rodgers. Well, now we know that Lewis was right, but even after that, PA wouldn't say Lewis was correct. PA got butthurt that Lewis had a better source. You're shaking your head. You don't think it went down that way?
They both had sources, and they're both standing by their sources.
Well, if the one source...
It doesn't have to be a war. It doesn't have to be a Twitter battle.
But if one source, if PA source said the Vikings have never spoken to Rodgers, why would PA stand by a source when Quasi
I don't remember him saying that.
Yesterday?
Maybe I missed that. I don't remember him saying they haven't talked.
You don't have to stick up for Barney the program.
I'm in the camp. I'm in his camp.
You're in his camp. I'm in Alec Lewis's camp.
Because everybody's got to be in a camp.
You got to be in a camp. I just think it's delicious.
You just like Twitter wars.
Well, I just like Twitter wars and all that kind of thing.
How are you going to get through the rest of this segment now? It's been tough. Listen, I got to be honest with you.
You didn't hear a word. I went down and told you. I said, if we were a Major League Baseball team, you would have had to go into the bullpen already because I've had nothing.
What's Skip got over there on the other side of the glass?
I've been throwing him a few things, but he doesn't really have a lot either. Well, you know what? You're overworking him.
True, we are.
Crackpot in the morning, common in the afternoon.
I was texting him
late
yesterday.
afternoon. He doesn't have any time to. And then I need a montage from him. He was probably going to go take a nap or something. Why are you working him to
Why
death
don't you
like
learn how
this?
to do your own montage?
You don't have to come down on me about it. Oh, are we going to have to relive Tuesday all over again?
I'd rather not. Can I leave now?
Yeah, I think you probably should. I'm just being tough love covenant with you.
That's fine.
I'm not saying you're bad, but it's just like you haven't had any like, hey, you did a decent job. You did a great montage.
Okay.
And I think you were resting on your I think you were resting on your laurels a little bit.
I put together 5, 3, 4.
And you know what? I've done the same thing. If I have like one, and it doesn't happen often, I have a really good segment, I kind of rest on.
Man. We go from bragging on Brett hour 1 to now you're rested.
Yeah,
you're sleeping.
Torching him.
Exactly.
NFL Competition Committee proposes moving touchback to 35 and making dynamic kickoff permanent. We talked about that with Tennessee, and maybe you brought it up as well. The Competition Committee is talking about, okay, because, look, ever since they decided to get away from the way kickoffs always were, all the way back to the days of leather helmets when Abner Doubleday invented the game, they decided it was the collisions. They were like, two cars colliding at 30 miles an hour, right? People were getting apparently concussed, inordinate amount of injuries on the kickoff. It is a dangerous play when you have two groups of people, the return team and the kickoff team, running for 20 or 30 yards, and then there's collisions at midfield. It can be dangerous. But so then they changed it, and now it was like, I can't even describe what the kickoff looks like anymore. There's 10 guys standing here, 10 guys standing there. You got this little area to kick the football in, or else you just kick it into the end zone. And if you do, it's a touchback, and the ball is at the 30. And most teams just decided, you know what, kick it into the end zone, let them start at their 30. So if I'm not mistaken, it sounds as though the plan is to have the touchback go out to the 35-yard line. And then that 5-yard difference is enough to make teams say, you know what? We'd better allow the team, give that team a chance to return the football, because 35-yard line, heck, you need another 20, 25 more yards and you're in field goal range for some of these guys nowadays. Here's what it said. Owners approved a major change of the kickoff last year on a 1-year trial basis, and the committee recommended another change to increase the rate of returns without increasing the risk of injuries. The league had 332 additional returns last season, with the rate increasing from a record low 21.8% in 2023 to 32.8% last season. The committee hopes that moving the touchback on kicks that reach the end zone on the fly from 30 to 35 will incentivize kicking teams to opt for shorter kicks that lead to more returns, with the projection that the rate of return could double. Rich McKay, he is the NFL Competition Committee chairman. He says, and this is a quote, "We think that's a lot of motivation for people to kick the ball and play and get returns back in the game." And I don't doubt that. I mean, all of these sports, we're at the point, especially in baseball, I think it seems even more than ever, but I'm sure they do it. Well, as a matter of fact, Kwesi was talking about stuff yesterday about all these. My head was spinning when he was talking about just the different, I don't want to say divisions they have but all these different people in charge of this and that, and this, it's just it's so micromanaged to the point where it doesn't even seem like it's just like it used to be. You say, see ball carrier, tackle ball carrier, see quarterback drop back to pass, rush the quarterback. It's now it seems like it's a bit more complicated than that, and maybe it should be. And so, will the 5 yards make that much of a difference? And I suppose teams look at that and say that 5 yards is quite a bit. I guess if you have a top flight defense, it's not going to bother you. What's an extra 5 yards? We'll just sack the quarterback on 1st and 10. They'll be back at the 30-yard line again or the 25. I said it the last time we talked about it. I said it during last season, and I said it when they first made the change. I would never kick the ball into the end zone no matter where they start from. Well, I guess if it was back at the 20, then you would, right? I mean, obviously, but I just think that I want the other team to return the ball. I feel like if I can get that guy to get the ball bouncing and scoop it at his 5-yard line, I trust my coverage team to be able to tackle him inside the 30-yard line. And I guarantee you, if you do that every time, you might give up a long one. You might give up a tutty. Okay, all right. Guess we got to score an extra touchdown today. But I would bet more times than not, I would guarantee if you have a good coverage team, you would tackle them inside the 30 more often than you wouldn't. And they would get outside that 30-yard line. And how many times would you force a turnover? Right? Guy scoops up the ball at the 5-yard line. He cuts left, goes right, gets blindsided. Boom. Carrying it like a loaf of bread. Pigskin pops out. Fumble! And you cover the football. And all of a sudden, you want your special teams to be special and create stuff, don't you? I got a lot of Dan Campbell in me, I guess, is that I'm willing to risk things.
It's rubbing off on you.
I would rather take the risk of a long return when I just know more times than not, you're going to get that guy inside the 30-yard line. Now, inside the 35, I don't know. I would still take my chances.
Well, you know what the big analytics people will say is the percentage that you may give up a touchdown. You know, if you kick it to them and you let them return, it's probably not high. You know what? 5%, maybe?
Maybe.
What's the percentage if you kick it in the end zone? 0%.
Right.
You give up the touchdown. That's probably what the response would be.
Here would be my response.
Yes.
What percentage of the time do you think you would force a fumble on a return if you got the guy picking it up before it went into the end zone? That you would force a fumble and recover? 5%? If you kick it in the end zone, what would the percentage be of forcing a fumble? 0. That's my comeback. See? Does that make sense what I'm saying? So you're right.
I
you
get
could say that, but I would
I'm
also
not
say
saying that. I'm just saying people would say that.
No, I know. I didn't mean you. Yeah. I'm just saying I understand what you're saying, but I just came back with the exact same argument that if you kick it in the end zone, you have 0 chance of forcing a fumble. I would rather, what wins football games? Big plays and turnovers. Mike Grant told me that, and Mike heard it from Bud. Back in the days when Mike Grant and I were tight, when I was at the Forest Lake radio station, he was coaching the Forest Lake Ranger football team, and we did Coach's Corner every Saturday morning, live from Hardee's. And the Forest Lake coaches would come in one after another. And Chisago Lakes coaches were invited as well, because that was in our listening area. They would come in, and Mike would sit down for 10, 15 minutes, and we'd talk Ranger football. And he said Diamond, because he called me Diamond, because I was Diamond Dan Cole back then. Do you know why?
Is it similar to Diamond Dallas Page?
No, this was Ed and Joanne Carey were the owners of the radio station. And they had the capable Carl Allen and I. He was the morning guy, and I was the news and sports guy, right? And we were having a meeting in their office. And Eddie Carey looked at the two of us and he said, "We consider the news department here at the radio station our diamond." And he went like this and formed a diamond like that. Because that's
like the two wrists together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would be Diamond Dan Cole. And it wasn't necessarily because of me. It was just saying, when you're in a small market like that, what separates you, because the signals from the Twin Cities station come into Forest Lake. So what's going to be the difference between K102? They're playing yesterday's, today's, and tomorrow's country. We were just playing any old country, right? But what would make us different? It would be the local news department and local sports. That's what you're not going to get Forest Lake City Council news on K102. So that was our diamond. And I was the news guy, so I was Diamond Dan Cole. And Mike Grant would call me Diamond. Diamond, he would say. And I'd call him Mike because that was his name.
Wow.
And he told me, he goes, This was on the air in Forest Lake. He said, you know what my dad told me a long time ago? And I said, what's that, Mike? He said, Diamond. He said, what wins football games is big plays and turnovers. Now, the kick return could be the big play, right? So you do.
There's a problem.
There's that chance.
Yeah.
But the turnover, when you especially if you just scored and you're kicking off and you force a turnover and get the ball back and score again, pretty much game, set, match, especially against a mediocre team. They're going to quit at that point. They're not going to try very hard, much like the Wolves. Every night the Wolves don't try. They've said so. So they're not going to try very hard. The committee also proposed allowing teams to declare their intention for an onside kick at any point in the game when they are trailing, instead of only in the fourth quarter, and had a slight tweak in the formation in hopes of slightly increasing the recovery rate. There was no interest by any team on the or the committee in changing the onside kick to a fourth and long play like there had been in the past, with league executive Troy Vincent calling it, quote, too gimmicky. Tenneby was all for it, I think. I think he liked the idea of, let's say you score, minute and a half to go in the game, you're down 6, you got to get the ball back. Mm-hmm. That you could say, we'll take the ball at our own, 15 or 20-yard line. And if we can get, I don't know what the number Tenneby was throwing around, was it 20 or 25, or was it only 15? If you could get a certain amount of yards, I think it was just 15. If you could pick up 15 yards and 1 down, you'd get to keep the ball, keep going. And if you didn't, then the other team would get the ball. Like, let's say you threw it on the one play, 15 yards, you get a first down, you get 7, the other team would take over the football. If you got 15, you'd get to keep going, get a fresh 4, a fresh 4. As the play-by-play guys say. I didn't like that either. I don't like when they make rules that change, what's the word I'm looking for?
Change like the nature of the game.
Yeah. I guess nature, for the lack of a better word, that works. The nature of the game. That's why I never liked when they do overtime. It used to be really bad. First team to score, you get a field goal range and kick it, right? A figgy, or was it at least you had to have a touchdown? Remember, then it was changed to, if you don't score a touchdown, you only get a figgy, the other team gets a chance at the ball. And it's like, well, that changes the strategy of the game, because now the team that got scored on knows they have to score, so they've got 4 downs every time now. They know that we got to score in this possession, so we're not punting. We got to go. And then, and I don't like the college thing where put the ball at the 25. That's not how football's played. And would I stop watching if they changed to any of those? No, I still watch the game. It's just this fear. I've talked about this. It's a fear of having a game end as a tie. Why is that such a bad thing? I know it's not real satisfying for either club or fans of the club. We needed a win there and we got a tie. And I don't buy the idea that by playing, and I'm not, what I'm recommending is playing by the same rules, like you're just starting a new quarter. Like it's the start of the fourth quarter, start of the third quarter. You just play, and it can be 10, just make it 10 minutes if you don't want to go to 15, because the fear is you increase the chance of players getting injured by playing a full quarter. How many times do you watch an overtime game? I don't know what the numbers are. How many times does it get down to 2 or 3 minutes to go in that overtime period where a team finally wins? So in other words, you're cutting off 2 or 3 minutes? Well, that's ludicrous. It's if I was on the competition committee, my recommendation would be have it 10-minute, fifth quarter, and play it just like you would the first, second, third, or fourth quarter. Give them a couple of timeouts and let them play. If a team scores a tutty, great. If the other team scores kicks a field goal, and there's 5 minutes to go in overtime, team's got a 4-point lead, and they get the kickoff back to them. Committee proposed a few other tweaks to how players on the return team can align before the kick, but the basics will remain the same, with the kicker lining up at his own 35, the 10 coverage players at the 40, and at least 9 blockers lined up in the setup zone between the 30 and 35-yard line, 2 returners in the landing zone inside the 20. Any kick that reaches the end zone in the air can be returned, or the receiving team can opt for a touchback now at the 35. According to the NFL, there were 59 returns of at least 40 yards last season, the most in the league since 2016, and 7 tutty returns. The concussion rate fell 43% from the previous 3 years, and there were the fewest lower extremity strains on kick return plays since 2018. And if this can be documented, and if these numbers are accurate, then changing the kickoff to the way it used to be accomplished what the league and the Players Association wanted to do, and that was make the game safer, because it is dangerous. That's a dangerous play. What they don't have here, where it says there were 7 touchdown returns. How many fumbles were there on a kickoff return? That's what I want to know. Can you Google, can you AI grok it? How many fumbles were there on kickoff returns in the NFL last year? 7 tutty returns.
I've got 2.
Only 2?
That's just the first thing that came up.
Okay.
So grain of salt. But the first thing that came up was in the 2024 NFL season, there were 2 instances of lost fumbles during kickoff returns.
Should I pull a PA and just say I don't believe it? Even though the general manager of the team said they talked to Aaron Rodgers, he's going to stick with his source. Only 2? All right, I stand corrected. I can't be right all the time. You know how difficult it is to always have all the answers?
In fairness, there was I think a texter brought it up too, but my club, the Packers, got royally screwed and they did it themselves. Then they didn't get screwed. They just shot themselves in the foot by fumbling on the kickoff, first opening kickoff, and that set the tone the rest of the game. The Packers never got back into it against the Eagles in the playoffs. So there is that.
So only 2 fumble recoveries, and there were 7 returns for kickoff. I stand corrected. Well, here's what I will tell you, though.
Now, I will say that was lost fumbles. I don't know if that's total fumbles.
Oh.
So that's
right.
Team fumbled the ball and lost.
Well, that is only 2 times, though. So
yeah,
those sabermetrics, those analytics, those numbers aren't. Well, we'll see what happens this year. Because it sounds like what the NFL wants to do is they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want more returns, but they want fewer injuries. This should probably do it because my guess is the injuries would go up a little bit just because they're expecting more returns now. But if they've already gone down on the injuries by changing it, then they accomplished what they did. But they kind of want to tweak it, and I don't mind the tweak. I'd be curious to see if there are more kickoff returns, which it sounds like that's the plan, and if it does work out that way, how many more fumbles there are. I do like the idea where it's on the onside kick, it says, they also propose allowing teams to declare their intention for an onside kick at any point in the game when they are trailing, instead of just in the fourth quarter. And I like that idea. What if I want to kick one earlier?
Yeah, don't handcuff Dan Campbell. He can do what he wants.
I know there with the way the kickoff formation is now, I don't think you can actually, with the alignment of the players, you can't really do an onside kick. Let's say you didn't have to announce it. Would you, with the alignment of the players, would there be a greater chance or a lesser chance to get the onside kick? See, because I miss the onside kick. I think that's remember, didn't the Saints do it in was it the Saints that started the second half of a Super Bowl big game with an onside kick and it was successful?
Might have been, yeah.
I think they started the second half. They were supposed to kick off. The other team wasn't expecting it. They'd been busy watching Prince at the halftime show. They kick, covered, set the tone for the second half of the game. The legendary one is just strode into Master Control Studios. Don't get too comfy there, Rosie. I need you in here. Right after this break, the legendary one will join me here in Studio A. It's the Common Man program along with Common, Brett Blakemore, and the legendary Mark Rosen next on The Fan.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer. the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com, ODOO.com.
When it comes to playtime, never let your squad down. Unlock elite gaming tech at Lenovo.com. Push your gameplay beyond performance with 13th Gen Intel Core processors. Upgrade to smooth, high-quality streaming with Intel Wi-Fi 6E. And maximize game performance with enhanced overclocking. Win the tech search and head to Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.